All right, let's set the scene. The international break is finally over, for now, and Celtic are about to return to the pitch. After nearly 2 weeks of waiting, debates, squad updates, and off-field controversies, the green and white are back in our lives, and with them, a run of games that could very well define how this season unfolds. But before we dive into what's coming, let's talk about what's just happened and what kind of shape this Celtic squad is in ahead of a massive few weeks. First up, let's look at the international minutes. The international window, though usually frustrating for fans desperate to see their club in action, gives us a chance to assess which players are coming back fresh and who's been logging serious minutes. This time around, Celtic sent out 11 players to represent their countries, 10 playing senior football and 1, Kobe Donovan, involved with the Scotland under-21s. What's interesting, and maybe slightly surprising, is how many of those players didn't actually play much at all. For all the concern about players coming back tired or potentially injured, that's not really the case here. If anything, most of the squad will be returning relatively fresh. Kasper Schmeichel and Marcelo Sarachi had the heaviest workload, each playing significant minutes and even wearing the captain's armband for their respective nations, Denmark and Uruguay. Schmeichel continues to be a calming veteran presence for club and country, and for Sarachi, captaining Uruguay shows the leadership qualities he brings to the table. Donovan clocked up 135 minutes with the under-21s, while Anthony Ralston notched 105. Sanalo got one full 90-minute game under his belt. But the rest? Very light duty. Sebastian Tenke only featured for 45 minutes across 4 possible halves. Kieran Tierney got 27 minutes. Meanwhile, there were 0 minutes for Benjamin Negrin, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Dyson Maeda, and Liam Scales. Now, that group, particularly the 4 who didn't feature at all, is probably going to be crucial as Celtic line up against Dundee. Those are potential starters, and their lack of game time could be a blessing in disguise. These players should be well-rested and raring to go. And Tierney, even with his limited minutes, is someone who'll be key in the weeks ahead. So, while the international break is often a worry for clubs, this time, it might just have worked in Celtic's favor. Now back at Lennoxtown, the energy's building. The club released some behind-the-scenes footage, giving fans a glimpse of the squad in training. One of the standout moments was seeing Liam Scales back in the mix. After missing Ireland's fixtures due to a family bereavement, it was good to see him looking sharp and back at it. Kelechi Iheanacho was also present. He wasn't away on international duty but had been given some time off. The same goes for Vlazalo, Anthony Ralston, and Kieran Tierney, all involved in training. However, some faces were still missing. Marcelo Sarachi, Dyson Maeda, and Kasper Schmeichel hadn't returned to the group just yet. But Brendan Rodgers mentioned that the full squad would be back together by the next day, meaning they'd have at least 2 sessions, Friday and Saturday, to prepare for Sunday's clash. Speaking of Rodgers, he gave an exclusive interview to Celtic TV. Now, let's be honest, it didn't reveal too much. It was more about mindset and momentum than tactical detail. He spoke about resetting, refocusing, and embracing the challenge ahead. And make no mistake, the upcoming run of 7 games could very well shape this season. Rodgers knows it, the players know it, and the fans certainly feel it. Let's talk about those 7 games. We kick things off with Dundee this Sunday. Now, no game is straightforward for Celtic right now. Every match feels like a test. That's just the way it's been this season. The football hasn't exactly been convincing. There have been flashes, little spells of promise, but nothing consistent. The loss to Kyra and the more recent defeat to Bra were reminders that this team still has a lot of work to do. But despite those setbacks, Celtic have somehow managed to keep grinding out results, and maybe, just maybe, that last-minute winner against Motherwell before the break was the turning point. After Dundee, it's a must-win Europa League night against Sturm Graz. Pressure's already mounting in that group, and Celtic need points fast. Following that, it's a trip to Tynecastle to face Hearts. Always a tough venue, even more so when Hearts are playing well, as they are now. Then there's a midweek clash with Falkirk at Celtic Park, followed by a massive Scottish Cup semi-final against Rangers at Hampton. After that, a European away day in Denmark against Midtjylland. And finally, before the next international break, a home match against Kilmarnock with a 4 o'clock kickoff. That's a tough, relentless schedule. 7 matches, a mix of domestic and European fixtures, and all of them with real consequences. Rodgers says it's time to embrace the challenge. And he's right, because these next few weeks are where we find out what this Celtic team is really made of. This could be the stretch where the team clicks into gear, or where the cracks grow deeper. Now, in terms of tactics, Rodgers is being optimistic. He's relaxed, confident, at least outwardly. But there's a growing feeling that something needs to change. That midfield. It's not functioning the way it should, and the manager might need to be bold here. Paulo Bernardo is one possible solution. Another, maybe more unexpected, is Misha Balikwisha. That would be a bold shout, sure, but this team is crying out for a shake-up. The right-wing issue continues to drag on, and while Alistair Johnston's return might help solidify things at the back, Celtic needs something more dynamic going forward. There's a risk here. If Rodgers sticks with the same formula that's been underwhelming for most of the season, then these games could get ugly. The level of performance simply hasn't been good enough. And with opponents like Rangers, Hearts, and two tricky European fixtures, there's very little margin for error. Rodgers has to be brave. He needs to get his selections right and trust the players who are ready to make an impact. Because the squad is deep, there are options. It's about finding the right combination, the right mentality, and the right approach to come through this period stronger. But while all eyes are on the pitch, there's been no shortage of drama off it either. Let's talk about the League Cup semi-final against Rangers and the statement released by the Green Brigade. In protest of the ticket allocation for that match, or more specifically, the lack of allocation, they've announced they won't be attending. They've been completely excluded from the ticket list, following sanctions related to pyrotechnics used in previous matches. And while they've defied such suspensions in the past, this time, they're staying away. Their reasoning? Collective punishment is unfair, and this is about standing up for fan rights. Not just their own, but the wider Celtic support. Their statement also took aim at the club itself, criticizing the sale of standard tickets as hospitality packages priced between £150 and £300. They called it legalized ticket touting, accusing the club of exploiting supporter demand and deepening divisions among fans. Now, regardless of where you stand on the Green Brigade and their methods, it's hard to ignore the growing tension between the Celtic boardroom and the support. And when fan groups start aligning, like the boys Celtic showing solidarity by also choosing not to attend, it's a clear sign of a wider discontent. So what does this mean for the game itself? Hampden Park, Celtic versus Rangers, and no ultras in the stands. That's a massive change. Say what you will about ultras culture, but their presence transforms the atmosphere. Without them, the noise, the color, the intimidation factor, all of it takes a hit. And in a match of this magnitude, that could have an impact. Of course, the game is decided on the pitch, not in the stands. But energy from the crowd fuels the players. It's undeniable. And the absence of the Green Brigade and other vocal fans is a major loss. The Celtic fans collective is beginning to look like more than just a passionate group of supporters. It's becoming an organized movement. Their recent statement confirmed what many had already sensed. The appetite for change among the support is growing fast. According to them, the response from fans wanting to get involved has been overwhelmingly positive. People are ready to have their voices heard. They're done waiting for the club to listen. Now, it's about taking matters into their own hands and creating a platform that properly represents the wider Celtic community. This week's meeting in Glasgow was aimed at strengthening those connections, finding ways to engage with independent supporters, and pushing for more effective communication across the fan base. The details from that meeting are expected soon, and while we don't know everything yet, the agenda already tells us a lot. It wasn't just a chance to air frustrations, it was about planning. About structure. The interim steering committee was introduced, which shows a real desire to formalize the group and give it direction. They also recapped what's been happening since the last meeting, which, interestingly, took place during the previous international break. So in a way, these breaks are becoming markers not just for the team's progress, but for the supporters' movement as well. A major point of discussion was matchday action, protests, displays, ways of making feelings known without turning on the players. It's a tricky balance. Fans want to support the team, especially during a run of fixtures that could shape the entire season. But they also want to hold the board accountable. It's a tension that's hard to resolve. You want to back the badge on the pitch, but not necessarily the people running things behind the scenes. The collective is also exploring economic action, and that's where things get really interesting. The idea of using financial pressure to make a point is not new, but it's rarely been coordinated at this level. If supporters decide to withhold spending or boycott club merchandise or services, it could hit hard, especially at a club where fan loyalty is the financial lifeblood. And then there's the AGM. It's coming up soon, probably about a month away, and it's already been marked as a key moment. The group sees this as a chance to ramp up the pressure. In fact, they're eyeing the Kilmarnock home match, the 7th and final game in this critical stretch, as a potential day of action at Celtic Park. The timing lines up with the AGM and also coincides with the anniversary of the club's founding. That kind of symbolism isn't lost on anyone. It's about remembering what the club was built on, what it's supposed to stand for, and how far it might have drifted from those roots. There's still uncertainty around what that day of action will look like. Will it be a protest, a walkout, a coordinated display in the stands? That remains to be seen. But one thing's clear, the support is mobilizing. And they're not just shouting into the void anymore. They're building something structured, something that might just have the weight to influence change. Whether the board listens or not is a different question. But the foundation is being laid. Back to the football side of things, the pressure on the players is mounting. Every one of these next 7 matches carries significance, and there's no hiding from that. And although there's real concern about off-field tensions affecting on-field performance, it's also an opportunity. An opportunity to pull together, block out the noise, and start playing with some real identity. The late winner against Motherwell before the break was a glimpse of what this team can be: determined, clinical, refusing to give up. But glimpses aren't enough anymore. The time for patches of good play or moral victories is over. Celtic need to show real consistency, starting with Dundee. Rodgers himself seems calm. He's projecting confidence, saying the team just needs a bit of rhythm and that it's only a matter of time before things click. And to be fair, he has reasons to believe that. A full squad, minimal injuries, players returning fresh. But he's also not blind. He knows the criticism is building. He knows people are asking questions about his tactics, about the midfield combinations, about the lack of a spark in the final third. And as much as he's trying to stay relaxed, there's no escaping the fact that results in this next run will dictate the mood around the club heading into the next break. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers have been swirling around Glasgow's East End this week, and it looks like there's substance behind the noise. English defender Ben Godfrey, known for his blistering pace and uncompromising strength at the back, is reportedly on the verge of completing a sensational move to Celtic FC. The news, while not yet officially confirmed by the club, has already set social media alight, with fans speculating that this could be the defensive signing the Hoops have been crying out for. Godfrey, 27, has struggled for consistent minutes in the Premier League over the past season, but his talent has never been in question. A product of the Norwich City Academy before earning his big move to Everton, he built a reputation as one of England's most athletic defenders, quick across the ground, strong in the challenge, and calm under pressure. It's precisely those qualities that have reportedly caught the eye of Celtic boss Brendan Rodgers, who is said to be eager to inject some steel and speed into his backline. Sources close to the deal have hinted that talks have been positive, with Celtic keen to finalize an agreement before the next transfer window formally opens. The move would not only bolster the squad for the domestic campaign, but also add valuable European experience as the boys continue their continental ambitions. Godfrey's versatility, able to play both center-back and right-back, makes him an even more attractive prospect for Rodgers, who has been juggling injuries and form concerns in defense. Inside Parkhead, the mood is one of quiet optimism. While the club has not yet made an official statement, insiders believe the announcement could come soon, possibly within days. For supporters, the idea of pairing Godfrey's physical presence with the ball-playing elegance of Cameron Carter-Vickers is enough to stir real excitement. It's still a rumor, for now. But if the whispers prove true, Celtic may have just pulled off one of the most eye-catching defensive moves in Scottish football this season. And with Godfrey's trademark intensity and drive, few could argue he wouldn't fit right into the passion and power of paradise. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.